Welcome to a fascinating exploration of congenital amusia, commonly known as tone deafness. While most of us experience music as a rich tapestry of emotion and meaning, approximately 1.5% of the global population experiences sound fundamentally differently. Today, we'll journey into the minds of those with amusia, examine the neuroscience behind this condition, and discover how this musical blindness is teaching us profound lessons about human evolution, language, and social connection. Join us as we unravel how this rare neurological condition is helping scientists understand not just music perception, but the very organization of the human brain itself. Congenital amusia represents far more than simply being bad at music. It's a profound neurological condition present from birth that persists despite normal hearing abilities and intelligence. Unlike acquired amusia, which results from brain injury, those born with this condition experience a fundamental perceptual deficit that transforms how they experience the auditory world. Research from the International Laboratory for Brain, Music, and Sound Research in Montreal has revealed the extent of this perceptual gap. While most people can detect pitch changes as small as 1/16 of a semitone, those with amusia struggle to perceive changes smaller than a full semitone. This means the subtle emotional modulations in music, the very elements that might bring tears to the eyes of typical listeners, remain completely imperceptible to those with amusia. Imagine living in a world where the emotional resonance of music is entirely absent, where a sad melody and a joyful one might sound essentially the same. This is the reality for those with congenital amusia. The effects of amusia extend far beyond mere perception, they ripple into social experiences and cultural participation. Dr. Isabelle Peretz, a pioneering researcher in this field, has documented numerous accounts of social alienation among those with the condition. One participant in her studies described attending concerts as watching a movie without understanding the plot. They could see the musicians performing and observe others being moved, but couldn't access the emotional experience themselves. Another participant revealed a lifetime of faking reactions to music to avoid social stigma, pretending to enjoy songs at parties or concerts while actually feeling nothing. These testimonials highlight the profound social impact of amusia. In a world where musical appreciation often serves as social glue, from concert outings to dancing at weddings, those with amusia frequently feel like outsiders. They must navigate social situations where everyone else seems to be experiencing something powerful and moving that remains completely inaccessible to them. This disconnect can lead to feelings of isolation and even imposter syndrome as they attempt to participate in music-centered cultural experiences without the ability to process music's emotional content. What exactly happens in the brain of someone with amusia? A groundbreaking 2020 study by Saivonen and colleagues at the University of Helsinki has shed light on this question. Using advanced diffusion tensor imaging, or DTI, researchers identified structural abnormalities in a neural pathway called the arcuate fasciculus in people with congenital amusia. This white matter tract is crucial as it connects two important regions, Wernicke's area, involved in language comprehension, and Broca's area, involved in speech production. The significance of this finding extends far beyond music perception. These same neural circuits play crucial roles in language acquisition and processing, suggesting a deeper connection between musical and linguistic abilities than previously understood. What's particularly interesting is that amusics show reduced connectivity specifically in the right hemisphere portion of this pathway. This challenges traditional models of brain specialization, which typically emphasize left hemisphere dominance for language functions. Follow-up studies using magnetoencephalography have demonstrated that this structural difference correlates with reduced neural synchronization between temporal and frontal regions during music listening tasks. In essence, the brain regions that need to communicate to process musical information simply aren't connected properly in those with amusia. The shared neural infrastructure between music and language processing has prompted a fascinating reconsideration of their evolutionary relationship. Some evolutionary neuroscientists now propose that our ancestors may have communicated through proto-musical vocalizations before developing formal language. This suggests that amusia represents not just a musical deficit, but potentially a window into human evolutionary history. The neural pathways affected in amusia may be some of the oldest communication circuits in our evolutionary development. This perspective frames music not as a mere cultural byproduct but as a fundamental cognitive capacity that may have preceded language in our evolutionary timeline. If music processing indeed served as a precursor to developing complex linguistic abilities, then studying amusia could provide insights into the foundational neural architecture that allowed humans to develop the complex communication systems we use today. This connection between music and language becomes even more apparent when we look at how amusia manifests across different linguistic groups, particularly those who speak tonal languages where pitch changes determine word meaning. Dr. Fang Lu's research at the University of Reading between 2018 and 2021 revealed something remarkable: amusia manifests differently across linguistic groups. Speakers of tonal languages like Mandarin, where pitch changes determine word meaning, show distinctive neural adaptations not present in English-speaking amusics. In Mandarin speakers with amusia, compensatory activation occurs in the left inferior frontal gyrus during lexical tone processing. This suggests the brain develops alternative pathways for processing linguistically relevant pitch information even when musical pitch processing remains impaired. This neuroplastic adaptation appears strongest when tonal language exposure occurs during critical developmental periods, highlighting the brain's remarkable ability to repurpose neural circuits when essential communication functions are at stake. A comparative study across Finnish, non-tonal, and Thai, tonal, speakers with amusia revealed that while both groups showed similar deficits in musical pitch perception, the Thai participants demonstrated significantly better discrimination of pitch contours that resembled their native lexical tones. Neuroimaging showed these participants recruited regions typically associated with semantic processing when making these discriminations, effectively bypassing the impaired musical processing circuits. These findings challenge the view of the brain as having rigid, domain-specific modules. Instead, they suggest a more dynamic system where neural resources can be reallocated based on cultural and linguistic demands, a perspective that aligns with emerging theories of neural reuse. Perhaps the most surprising discovery in recent amusia research is its connection to social cognition. Thompson, Marin, and Stewart's 2019 research revealed that individuals with congenital amusia often struggle with aspects of emotional prosody, the melodic qualities of speech that convey emotional states. Their findings were striking. Amusic participants showed a 32% reduction in ability to detect sarcasm and a 28% reduction in identifying questions versus statements when relying solely on intonation cues. This suggests music perception shares neural resources with social emotional processing in ways previously unrecognized. Further studies have found correlations between amusia severity and subtle deficits in facial emotion recognition, particularly for emotions that rely on nuanced interpretation, such as contempt or mild surprise. These connections between musical processing and social cognition have led to a novel hypothesis: music may have evolved primarily as a social bonding mechanism rather than an independent aesthetic capacity. Under this framework, musical perception represents an evolutionary adaptation that enhanced group cohesion and emotional communication in early human societies. The deficits seen in amusia may therefore represent not just a musical impairment, but a specific form of social processing difference. This perspective frames music not as a luxury or entertainment, but as a fundamental social technology that helped bind human communities together throughout our evolutionary history. Congenital amusia appears to have a strong genetic component, with approximately 39% of first-degree relatives of amusics also displaying the condition, far higher than population averages. A 2019 genome-wide association study by Peretz and colleagues identified several candidate genes, particularly GATA2, which regulates the development of auditory cortex organization during embryonic development. This raises fascinating evolutionary questions. Why has natural selection not eliminated genes associated with a condition that potentially impacts social communication? Some researchers propose that the genetic variants associated with amusia might confer advantages in other cognitive domains, a hypothesis supported by findings that some amusics demonstrate enhanced visual spatial processing abilities. Recent work from the Max Planck Institute for Empirical Aesthetics has identified enhanced mathematical reasoning abilities in a subset of individuals with amusia, particularly in areas requiring abstract pattern recognition. This suggests a potential trade-off model in which the genetic variants associated with amusia may create disadvantages in musical processing while simultaneously conferring advantages in other cognitive domains, a phenomenon known as antagonistic pleiotropy in evolutionary biology. This genetic perspective helps explain why amusia persists in the population despite potential social disadvantages. The same genetic variants may provide benefits in other areas that were advantageous throughout human evolutionary history. The concept of cognitive trade-offs in amusia presents one of the most intriguing aspects of this condition. While those with amusia miss out on the emotional and perceptual richness of music, some evidence suggests they may gain advantages in other cognitive domains. The Max Planck Institute's research has documented enhanced mathematical reasoning abilities in a subset of individuals with amusia, particularly in areas requiring abstract pattern recognition. This finding aligns with broader neuroscientific understanding of how brain resources may be allocated. When one perceptual system is less developed, those neural resources might be repurposed for other cognitive functions. Some amusics demonstrate superior visual spatial processing, showing better performance on complex visual tasks than non-amusic controls. Others display enhanced analytical thinking in domains that require abstract reasoning disconnected from emotional processing. These cognitive patterns suggest that amusia isn't simply a deficit but potentially represents an alternative cognitive profile with its own strengths and weaknesses. This perspective challenges us to reconsider how we view neurological differences. Rather than seeing conditions like amusia as purely disadvantageous, we might better understand them as representing different cognitive strategies that may have been adaptive in certain contexts throughout human evolutionary history. The brains of those with amusia aren't simply missing something, they're organized differently, with resources allocated in ways that may enhance certain abilities while reducing others. The study of amusia illuminates broader questions about the modular versus integrated nature of brain function. The condition represents a rare example of a definite perceptual deficit without general cognitive impairment, making it a valuable window into how specialized neural systems develop and function. As neuroscientist Dr. Lawrence Stewart notes, amusia offers us a unique lens through which to understand not just music perception, but the fundamental organization principles of the human brain itself. By studying these musical blind spots, researchers gain insights into the neural architecture that allows most humans to perceive music as meaningful rather than organized sound. Amusia challenges traditional views of brain organization by demonstrating how specific perceptual abilities can be selectively impaired while leaving other cognitive functions intact. This selective deficit suggests that certain aspects of music processing rely on specialized neural circuits that can be affected independently of general intelligence or other perceptual abilities. At the same time, the connections between amusia and other cognitive domains, from language processing to social cognition, reveal how these seemingly distinct abilities share neural resources and developmental pathways. This once overlooked condition now stands at the intersection of neuroscience, linguistics, evolutionary biology, and music theory. It reminds us that even our most basic perceptual experiences arise from complex neural architectures that continue to challenge our understanding of what makes us human. As research into amusia continues to evolve, new frontiers are emerging that promise to deepen our understanding of this condition and its implications. Current investigations are exploring potential therapeutic approaches that might help those with amusia develop compensatory strategies. While the core perceptual deficit may not be reversible, researchers are finding that some individuals can learn to recognize emotional content in music through alternative cues, such as rhythm patterns or dynamic changes. Emerging technologies like transcranial magnetic stimulation are being used experimentally to temporarily modulate neural activity in regions affected by amusia, providing insights into the causal relationships between brain function and musical perception. These interventions, while not cures, help researchers understand the plasticity and adaptability of neural systems involved in music processing. Beyond clinical applications, amusia research continues to inform our understanding of human cognitive evolution. By studying how musical perception interfaces with language, emotion, and social cognition, researchers are piecing together the evolutionary puzzle of how these capacities developed and why they remain important for human functioning today. As research continues, amusia may help us unlock not just the mysteries of musical perception, but fundamental questions about how culture, language, and biology interact to shape the human mind. This condition, once viewed simply as a curiosity, now stands as a crucial window into understanding the complex neural architecture that makes us human. Congenital amusia offers us a remarkable window into the human mind. This musical blindness affects just 1.5% of the population but reveals profound insights about our neural architecture, evolutionary history, and the deep connections between music, language, and social cognition. We've seen how the brains of those with amusia have structural differences in key neural pathways, particularly in the arcuate fasciculus connecting language and processing regions. We've discovered how these differences manifest uniquely across cultures, with speakers of tonal languages developing compensatory mechanisms that English speakers don't. Perhaps most surprisingly, we've learned that amusia extends beyond music perception to affect aspects of emotional and social processing, suggesting music evolved primarily as a social bonding tool rather than mere entertainment. The genetic basis of amusia raises fascinating questions about evolutionary trade-offs, with evidence suggesting those with the condition may possess enhanced abilities in mathematical reasoning and visual spatial processing. As research continues, amusia stands at the intersection of neuroscience, linguistics, and evolutionary biology, reminding us that our perceptual experiences arise from complex neural systems shaped by both biology and culture. By studying those who experience the world without music's emotional resonance, we gain deeper insight into what makes us fundamentally human. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for updates. Your feedback is appreciated. We hope to see you again.